My composing happens in bright bursts and long stretches. It begins mobile and chaotic, but becomes more stationary as my ideas grow in their concreteness. Most of what I write is literature analysis, academic essays, critiques, and intriguing thoughts on my most current reading material, whatever that may be. A volte io leggevo e scrivevo in italiano, a volte in inglese. Keeping the day highly ordered, my ideas come in moments of routine activity that allow for free thought. Routine like this, to-do lists, creates the stability and consistency that lets my thoughts thrive. My ideas come during early morning showers, walks to class, and long drives alone, when the spaces around me seem like they're waking up while I watch. Pages freshly read, the connections and considerations I make for a text feel as if they're coming alive inside me while my physical body continues with routine tasks. My ideas often first form as 2 or 3 sentences scribbled down in a notepad before the next activity, their quick but not permanent medium. My composing is shaped best when shared with others, evolving ideas with dialogue from the classroom and at home, gaining an insight here, an example there. Once clarity is found, my physical composition space changes from spontaneous to stationary. I find silence, solitude, and a flat surface. I bring my laptop, notepad, and the novel. Giving my ideas time to form before this part allows for evolution and early revision that I found crucial to my best composing. My notepad and a fresh Microsoft Word doc are open in front of me, usually with 5 or 6 other tabs. One tab is dedicated to an online dictionary, another to the university's Blackboard. Digitally, the ideas become linear and the precise words are grasped at as I type and delete, cut and paste. When the words can't be found, I take musical interludes, and, when I'm lucky, I somehow find the words there, tangled up in another artist's metaphor.
Let's take it back like Indian givers to Indian burns and Jiminy crickets, to the smell of Pillsbury on biscuit mornings, to puffy winter coats and Christmas mornings. I used to chill with the kids next door, and SpongeBob came around about 4, and then I'd hang with Bart's guys around the bend with Smart Guy, flipping through the picture books, checking through my archives. Remember the old days, the ones you'll never get back. At the end of parties, passing around gift bags. Now we blow entire O's in one kickback. Misfits and mismatch, they get off like wrist slaps.
It wasn't until reflecting more deeply upon my own composition process that I noticed themes that seemed intrinsically connected to my identity, ideal relationships, and the balance of routine and chaos within my life. From an early age, I was obsessed with fairy tales. Princesses, to be exact. Fairy tale themes of the ideal society, life, and relationships were things that at times I yearned for, and at other, happier times, I arguably had. Creating a multimodal memoir brought realizations and flashbacks of childhood routines and memories long forgotten, illustrating how my rich relationship with the written word has evolved and deepened over time.
Riley, you've always had such a passion for books and for language. I remember, boy, you were barely a toddler, and you would just stare so intently at my lips like you're absorbing every word and every sound I made when we read our books together. And at bedtime routine, you would always say, "One more, one more." And I think we had the longest bedtime routine ever.
While composing this memoir, my mom brought to light parts of my relationships with words and with others that I'd never remembered. Apparently, when I was very little, around 5 or so, I would tell her stories and she would write them down, and then I would do the illustrations. My writing skills increased as I got older, thankfully, and I began to take on more academic and professional projects. At significant points of my life, My parents have made a habit of gifting me the childhood books that we read together, often with accompanying inscriptions.
September 8th, 2015. Riley, this was one of your favorite books as a child. I remember you snuggled up on my lap, listening to me read it to you. I'm giving it to you now to remind you that I love you and that you will always be my little girl no matter how old you are. Thank you for all the love and memories you have given me. I look forward to so many more in the coming years. You will shine at DU. Love, Dad.
Maybe other people recognized how meaningful books were to me then, before I did. But maybe other people are what made the books so meaningful in the first place. In general, images and the visual mode are thought to be the most emotionally provocative. Yet, the visual mode didn't seem to get an emotional response from me. On the other hand, when one of my book characters went through something, I went through something. When they suffered a loss, I was grieving. A victory, I was elated. The freedom of emotional expression I experience while reading has led me to more than a bit of self-discovery and growth over the years. My parents got divorced before I turned 10, and my world became much more chaotic. Mondays and Tuesdays, Mom's house. Wednesdays and Thursdays, Dad's. Alternating weekends. I grew up in 2 houses, but it felt like I lived from an oversized pink duffel bag that I'd filled half up with books. My relationship with books, along with some other relationships, changed. With books, I could enter a new world each evening, effectively checking out of my currently unhappy one. I lived 100 different lives from the comfort of a bedroom. I remember when my older sister couldn't coexist in our shared apartment room, I liked to take refuge in the bathtub or bathroom closet and live out my literary adventure from there. At this age, I read much more than fairy tales, but I still had a thing for princesses, for the ideal. Occasionally, my fictional relationships went so far as to fill shortcomings of real relationships. The narratives helped shape my morality. Within them, I found the comfort and support of parents, siblings, and friends. Most of my best childhood memories post-divorce involved books. I read and reread the Harry Potter books so many times. Eventually, my mom started taking my cousins and I to premieres. I remember us pasting temporary tattoo scars on our foreheads and putting tape on cheap plastic glasses to look more like Harry. Secretly, I waited for my Hogwarts letter until years after my 11th birthday. In college, it clicked. I found meaning in literary relationships I thought ideal because they often symbolized relationships of my own that I wished were better. I began to consciously recognize literature as a conduit for emotion and healing, while simultaneously being a place for progress, hoped for or made. The fairy tale narrative helped shape my morality and beliefs. Books gave me an escape and an example. Thus, as my experiences with literature and words have evolved over time, so have I. While my relationship with words and emotional expression began in books, in early adulthood, I began to appreciate it in music too. I started to notice how the lyrics and musical sounds combine. The artist's lyrics, like the words of a book on a page, convey emotions and desires in better terms than I ever can. With music often so well matched, it feels you're riding in the melody. Like when I read, I become a passenger instead of the captain, and I find comfort in the ability to release control over the narrative.
If I said it, I meant it. If I'm dead, it's cemented. And cinder block cemeteries already ascended. I leave you my last name, I left on the last plane. Too much baggage, but you could carry on Bennett. I just want to make sure that my words touch you. Pinky swear and kiss it, promise no one to hush you. Jump and hit the blocks, I promise you'll see the mushrooms. Clouds in the dust soon, leaving more thoughts than there are bristles on a brush broom. I let the sun come down. I let the sun come down. And you might never know. I let the sun come down. I let the sun come down. I let the sun come down without letting you know exactly what I mean, exactly what you mean.